The GPS failed 2 miles shy of the cabin, exactly where the paved county road gave way to gravel. I'd printed directions as a safety net, my mother's old habit, and steered the last leg by odometer and guesswork. The trees pressed tighter with every tenth of a mile, their canopy closing until the afternoon sun thinned to slivers slipping through ancient forest. When the gap finally appeared, the driveway revealed itself with a sun-bleached wooden sign, Harmon Land, private. Uncle Frank's surname. Mine. I'd met the man only 3 times, most recently at Mom's funeral 5 years back, where he'd lingered at the edges like someone trapped behind glass, murmuring condolences in a voice that had forgotten how to speak to the living. The driveway dropped through a tunnel of pine. Then the trees parted. My first sight of Lake Silence hit like a held breath. The water stretched out like polished obsidian, its surface so motionless it mirrored the forest with flawless precision. No breath of wind, no ripple. The lake wasn't huge, maybe a mile wide, but its color sank from clear shallows to charcoal to an impossible black at the center. The cabin sat 50 yards back on a low rise, bigger than I'd pictured. 2 full stories, wraparound porch, cedar shingles gone silver, green steel roof, solid, deliberate. The sort of place an engineer builds to outlive his own name. Propane tanks crouched on the north side. A generator shed guarded the east. Everything tidy, methodical, cared for. I parked beside Frank's rust-eaten Ford pickup and stepped into the hush. That was the second thing that struck me after the lake's stillness. The quiet wasn't calm, it was crushing, a pressure against the eardrums. I'd camped in wilderness before, but there was always something. Birds, breeze, the low hum of life. Here, nothing. Even the car door seemed swallowed rather than echoed. I stood too long, staring at the water. The feeling began then, the sensation of being watched, not by eyes I could spot, but by the place itself, by the weight of all that motionless dark. You'd be Sam then. I whirled, pulse exploding. An older man stood at the tree line. He hadn't made a sound. 60s, wind-carved face, eyes the color of river stones, canvas trousers and flannel despite the soft October air. He held a foil-covered casserole dish. Christ, I exhaled. You startled me. Sorry. He didn't sound it. Dale Pritchett, half a mile along the shore. Only other year-rounder this side. He extended the dish. Figured you'd get here about now. I took it. Still warm. Thank you. That's really decent. Chicken and rice. His gaze slid past me to the cabin, the lake, then back. Something changed behind his eyes. You staying or just closing the estate? Not sure, I admitted. The lawyer had laid out the choices. Sell, rent, or live here 6 months before deciding. Columbus, my cramped apartment, my barely solvent freelance gigs, felt suddenly very distant. Maybe a few weeks. Dale nodded once, slow. Frank kept iron routines. You'd be wise to keep them. This isn't country for making things up as you go. The wording was strange enough that I almost asked what he meant, but he was already retreating, eyes flicking to the fading sky. Sun maybe an hour from setting. Generator shed's east side, he said. Frank ran at dusk to dawn every night. Diesel was topped 2 weeks ago. He paused. Need anything? I'm the only lights you can walk to. But after dark, stay inside. Clear? Yeah, I lied. Dale studied me another heartbeat, then melted into the trees without a sound. I stood clutching the casserole while the silence ate even the crunch of his footsteps. Inside, the cabin smelled of dust, aged timber, and faint antiseptic. Light switches were labeled in Frank's tidy hand. The main room was half living area, half kitchen. A wood stove ruled one corner. Shelves brimmed with engineering texts, field guides, pulp paperbacks sorted by spine color. The galley kitchen was compact but complete. A heavy table faced the big lake view window, and centered on it with unmistakable purpose lay a thick, dark leather journal. I set Dale's dish aside and approached. Gold lettering, The Caretaker's Guide to Lake Silence. The name in formal script made my stomach flip. I opened it. Typewritten pages, keys hammered hard. The Caretaker's Guide to Lake Silence, rules for ongoing residents, read in full before first nightfall. Compliance is mandatory. 5 rules followed. 1. Light is survival. Diesel generator runs sunset to sunrise. Backup propane lanterns lit before dusk. Total interior darkness is forbidden. 2. Disregard the voices. Should you hear a familiar voice, especially of the deceased, calling from lakeside, tree line, or under the porch, do not respond. Immediately shutter and lock all exterior coverings. Wear the provided noise-blocking headphones, bottom dresser drawer, until daylight. 3. Recognize the knocks. 3 quick light taps, settling wood or wind. 3 slow, heavy knocks, especially followed by wet dragging. Something else. Do not answer. Do not approach. Switch on every interior light and remain in the center of the main room until silence holds for 10 full minutes. 4. Control the wakefulness. Unnatural, crushing insomnia will arrive. Green tin beneath sink contains sanctioned stimulants. Strong coffee, caffeine tablets. Use sparingly. Sleep must occur only within the salted bedroom perimeter. Sleeping elsewhere or outdoors voids all protection. 5. The gaze summons it. Should you see through window or tree line a humanoid figure resembling someone known but moving with wrong, stuttering motion, extinguish every interior light at once. It orients by your sight. If you cannot perceive it, it struggles to locate you. Remain in darkness until you hear retreat, dragging through mud or heavy splash into water. I read them 3 times, waiting for the joke. Frank had always been peculiar. This had to be elaborate theater. I flipped farther. Meticulous generator schematics, property surveys, botanical sketches with toxicity notes. Everything in his precise clinical voice. No explanation of why, only the assumption the reader would need no convincing. Sunset was maybe 30 minutes away. Reason insisted this was nonsense. Another part of me walked straight to the generator shed. The machine was commercial grade, immaculate. Laminated startup checklist taped inside the door. I followed it. Prime, check oil, pull. It caught on the second try, settling into a steady growl that felt suddenly profane in the hush. Lights flared inside. Wasteful, running that much power for one person. Yet Dale's words echoed. Keep the routines. I found the 6 propane lanterns, tested each, left one burning on the counter because turning it off felt impossible. Upstairs bedroom, double bed, dresser, nightstand, single lake-facing window, headphones in bottom drawer, heavy aviation grade. Beside them, an ancient iPod loaded with white noise loops. Around the bed, 2 feet out, a thick, unbroken ring of coarse sea salt, some crystals still sharp and new. I laughed once, short, nervous, at the sheer lunacy. Then I opened the window. The lake had gone ink black. Far shore only a suggestion. No insects, no frogs, no night chorus. Just the lake holding its breath. I forced myself to eat Dale's casserole standing up. Sitting with my back to the glass felt suicidal. I kept returning to the guide. Uncle Frank had lived here 17 years. 17 years of salt rings and diesel and whatever the hell this was. At full dark, I settled into the armchair, guide open on my lap, trying to anchor myself in the mundane technical sections. Oil change intervals, water filtration schedules, normal things. Then I heard it. Soft, distant, but unmistakable across the water. An owl call, almost. Relief rushed in, normal wildlife. Then the note warped, deepened, ended in a wet gurgle like drowning. I was at the window before I registered moving. Nothing but blackness and my own pale reflection. The generator thrummed. Every light blazed. Nothing moved. 20 minutes I stood there, breath-fogging glass, before convincing myself it had been a bird with strange lungs. I picked up the fallen guide and felt it again. The vast, patient attention beneath the ordinary night, something ancient and ravenous waiting just past the edge of sight. I shuttered the curtains and fled upstairs. Sleep was impossible. I lay inside the salt ring listening to generator noise in absolute absence of everything else. My body buzzed with alertness, yet dragged with wrong-way exhaustion, as if I hadn't slept in weeks. Around 3 a.m. I surrendered, brewed coffee I didn't want, and stood at the kitchen window watching moonlight hammer the lake into cold metal. Still no ripples, still no wind, still that patient regard from below the surface. Frank's words circled in my head. Compliance is mandatory. Dale's. This isn't country for making things up. 17 years of precision survival. Dawn finally bled pink across the water and birds began. Robins, jays, ordinary sounds that nearly made me cry with relief. But the feeling stayed. As daylight returned, the lake returned to perfect mirror calm. I knew the rules were real, that Uncle Frank had not been mad. He had been the dam holding something back. I opened the guide again and started reading like a student cramming for the only exam that mattered. Because part of me, the part that carried his stubborn blood, was already decided. I was staying at least one more night, and I needed to learn the part I'd been handed.